Welcome to PE2 Compilation. Today we are going to solve question 2, which is monkeys, bananas, and sailors. Also, last sem's PE2 question 1. Upon reading this question, we realize that K sailors are somehow stranded on a remote island with N bananas and very aggressive monkeys. To survive, they have made some kind of a deal with the monkeys and they have come up with this system for each day. Initially, on each day they split the bananas into k equal piles, and since not all n can be fully divisible by k, there can be leftovers. These leftovers are given to the monkeys, and then they take one of the piles, which will be one of the k piles, and make banana bread to be consumed for the day. After this is done, they are left with some number of bananas, and they repeat the process again. This process is repeated until they have no more bananas left. Now, there's also an elaborate example for us to understand what is exactly happening in this question. So let's go through that example as well. On day one, we are starting with 4 sailors and 16 bananas. So they are split into 4 equal piles of size 4. Here we see that there are no leftovers after splitting into 4 equal piles. So no bananas are given to the monkeys, and the sailors eat one of the piles, which will be 4 bananas, and they're left with 12. Again, this process happens. 12 again is split into 4 equal piles of size 3. Again, no leftovers, and the sailors eat one pile, which in this case will be 3 bananas. They're left with 9 bananas. This process again is done because we are still not reached 0 bananas. So this time we get one leftover banana, which is given to the monkeys, and uh, 2 bananas are eaten by the sailors. So overall we are left with 9 minus 1 minus 2, which will be 6 bananas. Continue this process. This time we get a leftover of 2 bananas and the pile will be of size 1. So we are left with 6 minus 2 minus 1, which will be 3. And this time, when there are 3 bananas left, splitting it into 4 equal sizes would be of size 0. So there's a leftover of 3 bananas for the monkeys, and the sailors have no more bananas. This is where we stop. So counting the number of bananas given to the monkeys is 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 6, and which is interestingly also the function which we are supposed to write. The function monkey takes in bananas and sailors, which are both integers, the initial number of bananas and the number of sailors, and we have to compute the total number of bananas given to the monkeys. We keep track of the assumptions, and we also have some sample executions to test our code later. One good way to get started with this problem is to write down this algorithm and make it simpler in words which we can then convert to code. So we see that the if I just put this down as comments, then I should be able to convert it into some kind of smaller sub problems which will make my problem solving process easier. So instead of worrying about what happens at the end, let's just consider one day. What happens in a day? So each day we first split the bananas into k equal piles, and there can be leftovers or there can be no leftovers. So first we would need to do two things. At each step we need to find out the size of each pile when we are dividing n bananas into k piles. So we need to calculate that, and we also need to calculate the number of leftover bananas which are given to the monkeys. After we are done this, then next we would need to update. Next is the updating process. So here we would need to update the number of bananas which we have left, and also keep a track of the total number of bananas given to the monkeys. Update number of bananas given to the monkeys. Now that we have this for one of the days, we can just keep repeating the process till we run out of bananas. So when you read this sentence, keep repeating the process till we run out of bananas, we can immediately think that this is a while loop, right? We run the loop while n is not equals to 0, right? While we do not reach 0 bananas. So this is the loop that we are going to do. Now let's think of this, each of this, and how do we calculate each of them separately. So to calculate the size of each pile, we can look at the example. When there were 16 bananas and 4 sailors, we see that the size of the pile is 4. And if you also see one more example, when there is 9 bananas and 4 sailors, we see that the size is 2. So it gets very clear that the size of the bananas is nothing but n by k, right? N floor division k. It's the quotient when you divide n by k. Similarly, we can find out uh, an expression for the number of leftover bananas. Just consider these two examples again. For sailors, we see there are 0 leftovers, and for the case where there are 9 bananas and 4 sailors, we see there is 1 banana left over. And clearly, if we were able to come up with the first expression, here it's even simpler, it's just the remainder. So this will give us the number of leftover bananas, this gives us the number of consumed bananas. I'll just keep track of those. So now we need to update the number of bananas left. So originally we started with n, right? So after n, we go to n minus the leftover bananas plus the consumed bananas. How did I come up with this? Because some of the bananas will be given to the monkeys, some of them will be consumed, and whatever is left is what goes into the next day, and we repeat the process again. So that is simple, and this should be uh, quite straightforward. The bananas that we are giving to the monkey, let's keep track of that in the variable called bananas monkeys, and we'll just update it to, we'll add number of leftovers because these are the number of bananas given to the monkeys at each step. So we have our pseudocode ready with us, so we can get started with coding the solution. So our variable to keep track of the number of bananas given to the monkeys is bananas monkey. I know I'm not very innovative with the variable name, but we move ahead. Again, we already know what kind of loop that we need to continue. So while n is not equals to 0, so basically till we run out of bananas. At each step, we'll do two things. We'll calculate the number of leftovers, which is going to be n percentage k, and we calculate number of bananas which are consumed. Then we can update n to being this, n being this, and we already wrote the code for this, that we'll update the number of bananas which are given to the monkeys with the leftovers variable. At the end of this loop, we'll know exactly how many bananas were given to the monkeys, which is stored in the variable which we created and were updating throughout the loop. This should be our entire solution. We'll just run it and we get uh, true for all the test cases. Another thing is to just put it onto cosmology and give it one last check that there are no syntax errors and the code works correctly.